Well, hello everyone. It's great to be here, everyone here and around the world. And today we're going to talk about the principles that are necessary to become an entrepreneur. Entrepreneurs think differently than employees. We're going to talk about that in length today. And at one point in my career in the corporate world, I worked with a lot of major companies from Waste Management to McDonald's Corporation, a Stone Container Company, some of the largest law firms in the world, some of the largest accounting firms in the world. And so I know what it's like to be in corporate America and to work with in that environment. At one point in my career, and I'll talk about this in a little bit more depth in a minute, my career had plateaued. And so I was looking for an answer. And so I thought about going to like an MBA program, like at WashU, a school like that. But I had some friends that were at Enterprise Rent-A-Car and at Gartner, which is a consulting firm on IT, and they recommended that I take a different program, and which is what I did. It was a business professionals program, advanced studies in business. And the tuition was $10,000 a year, and then there was the cost to go to other cities where we met with other business professionals, and there were people from Sprint, Coca-Cola, Pepsi, Avaya, major companies, and they went to this because they would get principles that they could apply in their organization to go to the next level. And you know, you're spending $15,000 to $20,000 a year to be part of this. And I did it for 3 years. And so someone invited me to a meeting like this, and it was a direct sales company, and I didn't know it, but some of the people that had created the training in this direct sales company had New York Times best-selling books on leadership and other entrepreneurial principles. And they exposed me to other people. And I'm sitting there watching them teach on some of these entrepreneurial principles, and I had learned some of the same principles for $20,000. I just came back from some of the same principles, and I'm sitting here for $200, $250 one time. I was able to learn what I was spending tens of thousands of dollars to learn. And so why do I need to do that? I'm going to be part of direct sales. Then I found out that some direct sales companies had created more millionaires than almost any other company outside of maybe Microsoft. There's been more millionaires created in the direct sales industry than any other industry. And so it's just an incredible place to be. And in fact, one of my mentors in the previous company where I learned how to become a direct sales professional, he had worked at a major automotive company, and he had some patents that he had invented that are still used in vehicles today. And he looked at a list of the incomes people were making in direct sales, and he looked at the incomes that they were making in one of the largest manufacturing companies, and he'd have to be like the CEO to reach the level that, you know, there's like 100 people in this company earning. He says, why am I over here in this employee-based job when I should be over here? At least over there I have a 1 in 100 chance. Over here I have just 1 chance, right? And so he made the switch to direct sales. And he was very glad of it. And I was glad he did because he was a very good teacher. So there is a transformation that has to occur from being an employee in our thinking to become an entrepreneur in our thinking. And it usually takes a year if we concentrate on it. Sometimes it takes a little bit more than that. But it really does take time to change our thinking. But the person we are after we've gone through the process, we'd want to be anyway. The person I am today, if I never earned $1 in the industry, would be valuable to me, worth its weight in gold to me, just because of what I've learned, because of the different person I've become through this. And so I want to start out with I want to look at a similar framework to we did in lesson 2 about the principles which we called the Stairway to Success. But I want to talk about the framework first because we're all in a program that the government has created or society has created for us. You know, every year the government takes a survey, and the survey is called your taxes. And so they know the numbers on how much the average person makes in a year. They know the numbers on what they're paying in taxes. They know how many people are employees and self-employed based upon this survey called our taxes. Every April 15th, we all take a survey. And they know when we retire because it drops down, and they also run the retirement program called Social Security. And they also know when we leave it altogether because we die. And so they design the programs all around these things, and we're all on this program. And so if you chart it out, this axis is income. And then this axis down here is time. And every person is on a 45 to 50-year plan. It used to be 45, but it's 50 because many people are now working to 70 because we can't afford anymore to live on the kind of retirement we're going to have. So we're on this plan. And so and this is income, you know, 20,000, 30,000, 40, 50, 100,000. And so as our income goes up. So we get out of college, if we go to college, and we get our first real job around 20, 22. Some people today are 20, 22 and retired and living at home, but more than there ever was. But because they can't find a job because the economy's changing, right? And that's why we're talking about what it means to become an entrepreneur, because people getting out of school can't find jobs. So what do? They go and get advanced degrees, and they get more degrees, and they spend more and more time in college because they can't find jobs when they get out. It's just endemic of our economy today. So what happens is we get our first paying job and our income starts to go up. And it keeps going up until we reach a certain point. And then with everyone, somewhere between the age of 35 and 45, or 30 and 40, 30 to 45, our income plateaus. And it happens with everyone. You reach a point where the career that you have and the job, you've got all the, no matter what training you get, no matter what more experience you get, your income plateaus. It just happens to everyone. And if it hasn't plateaued yet, because you're 25 or 30, it will. It just, there's Don back there. He knows, he's a management at MasterCard. He knows that income plateaus, doesn't it? It did at my company. I was on the plateau for 10 or 15 years, virtually the same income. And so what we do to fill the, not we, my wife corrected me the last time I talked about this. I use we because I want it to be inclusive, include everyone. But one of the things I learned is don't go into debt. So one of the things we avoided, like the plague, was debt. We did not. I drove cars longer than most people. I wasn't going to go. One of my mentors taught me, don't buy anything that depreciates. And don't leverage with debt anything that depreciates. That's even worse. So what do you not want to leverage? It's like on a car or a refrigerator. Many people are using debt because they like the feeling of going like this, right? And because we like this feeling, when we want like the big screen TV, or we want the car that wakes people up at night when it backs out of your driveway. I live next to a couple of those. You know, we fill it in with debt. This, not we didn't go into debt. That's one thing we avoided. The only debt I've gone into is when I want to buy a business. I'll carry debt that's going to create an asset that appreciates. That's when I use debt. But I don't use debt to buy a refrigerator. I'll wait for the refrigerator, and if I can't afford a refrigerator, I'm going to buy a used one, because I'm not going to leverage myself to buy something that appreciates. Just not, but most people do. And then this whole area here is debt. And so so what happens, then we get down to retirement and our income drops to a third or less than it was before, because Social Security and the meager savings that we have are not enough to even be where we couldn't even make ends meet here. And so that's what people are looking for, retirement. So I propose a different program. I propose a 2 to 5 year program. And 1 year, some people can do it in a year. So let's say we go to 2 to 5 year program. That's the program I propose. And so you start now, because now's the time to start, and we start sharing the Sherlock with people, and our income gradually goes up. And once we hit somewhere between the 2 and 5 year period, when we understand the entrepreneurial principles, and we start understanding things about how to engage people and how to make friends with people, all these principles which are entrepreneurial principles, you know, working with people, dealing with people, entrepreneurs learn that. They, you know, when I first started being an entrepreneur, I was pushing more people away than drawing them to me, because I didn't understand how to talk to people as well as I learned how to talk to them. And so we end up learning principles that help us become better. And what happens is, if we're in a business that we can leverage certain things like our team and knowledge, technology, it starts to grow. And what happens is it replaces this drop off, and it starts to eat away at our debt because our income starts to go. So that's the program. 2 to 5 years, doing a little bit of something that's going to leverage certain principles like our team, like wealth, technology, we can get our income to do this. And so that's the program. We're on this ride here, wherever we are in our age as an employee or a self-employed person, we can be an entrepreneur, and you doesn't feel like you're gaining the first year or two. But if you keep doing the right things, learning the right things, doing the right things, it starts to climb. And because I made this investment back here, because I developed a team back here, I'm growing an income back here that makes a difference in my life. And so that's the different program. So now let's think about what it means to think like an entrepreneur. So we're gonna talk about the different thinking, because there's a transition that has to happen in the way that we think. And actually, it's not just thinking with our head, it's thinking with our heart. One of the wisest men who ever lived said, as a man thinks in his heart, and today would be as a person thinks in his or her heart, so they are. Right? It doesn't say what you think in your heart. It says how you think and the way you think. It's not how. It's not what you think. It's the way you think. And so we're talking about not knowledge. We're not talking a bunch of information. We're talking about a different way to view the world, a different way to think about business, a different way to think about money and income. So it's the way we think that's different. And it works in every realm that we live in. So the way we think. We're talking about the way we think. And so there's four. Now, this information is available in a book, two books. One's called Rich Dad, Poor Dad by Robert Kiyosaki. And now that kind of gives a story, an overview, but people get the aha moment. Like, you get like, boy, it hits my heart when they read the cash flow quadrant. And the cash flow quadrant is what we're going to talk about today by Robert Kiyosaki. Now, Robert Kiyosaki went from living in his car homeless to a millionaire in 4 years. That's the 2 to 5 year plan, right? And he did it. He is an advocate of direct sales because there's so many things in the direct sales world that help you along, because there's people ahead of you that have done it. There's people who will help us avoid the pitfalls that he had. Now, he was living in his car with his wife because they were not going to be employees. They were so determined that they were going to be entrepreneurs that they weren't going to get into an employee job and be trapped. And then it took a few years after that, they became multimillionaires. And the principles that they learned, he created the cash flow quadrant. So we're going to talk about that. So there's 4 ways that a person can make money in our society. Drugs, rock and roll, theft. That's the wrong society. That's the wrong society. No, first one is as an employee, and then as a self-employed person, as a business owner, and I use business system owner, and an investor. Ultimately, we all want to get over here an investor, because an investor is when their money's working for them. An employee works for money. An investor, money works for them. It's a total opposite thing. And so we all have investments, right, where we should. But that doesn't mean we're an investor, right? An investor is a person that could go a full year without an income, and it wouldn't affect their standard of living. So if you can't do that, you're not an investor. But someday you have to do it when you get over here. One of these days, you're going to be living on your money. Either money you put into Social Security plus whatever money you've saved. Someday, when we're 70 years old, we're going to have to be an investor. So we might as well get on the 2 to 5 year plan so we can prepare for that. But why not retire at 35 or 45? Why wait till we're out here? You know, wouldn't it be nice for... anyway, I won't go there. So we all want to get here, but we don't have the knowledge to stop working for money, to have money working for us. We don't have this. We don't have the experience or the knowledge to go from here to here. We just don't. So we have to take a different route. So we have to go from employee. You don't have to do anything, by the way. You get to do it. You can do whatever you want. These are the principles that Robert Kiyosaki recommends that I've seen work. And so what we do is we go from the employee, we build a bridge from the employee side to the business owner side, the business system side. So now let's talk a little bit about this left side of the quadrant. These are people who trade their time for money. So we trade on this side, we trade time for money. And eventually, we run out of time. And if we've only traded time for money and we run out of time, we have no more money. And that's where we suffer, right? If we go into debt, we're trading future time for present money. We're leveraging our future hours. And if we don't straighten that out, we're getting over here, and not only do we run out of time, we've actually leveraged time we don't even have. So employees trade time for money. Self-employed people are people who are lone rangers. They want to do it themselves. They're perfectionists. Self-employed people are some of the hardest working people. And you want perfectionists that are self-employed. A lot of brain surgeons are self-employed. You want a perfectionist when they're digging in your brain. You want a perfectionist, right? It's the same thing. You know, I was in a dentist and I heard him say, oops. And it's the only bad spot I have, and I've had it ever since he said, oops. So you want a perfectionist. He shouldn't have been doing the root canal. He should have gotten a perfectionist to do a professional. So self-employed people are important. They're the doctors and the lawyers and the accountants that we know, and they're perfectionists, and they work alone. But they're still trading their time for money, and they're a slave to their job. So an employee has a job. A self-employed person owns a job. But they're still in a job. And job stands for just over broke, right? Job, just over broke. Because you never get the leverage, you never get the space to make a difference in your life. We have to find leverage somewhere. So on this side of the quadrant, we invest time and money for wealth. So that's what happens on this side. It's an investment side. It's totally different. On this side, people value security. I want a good paycheck and I want benefits. And basically, people on this side are trying to avoid fear. They're afraid of something new. They're afraid of being out on their own. They're afraid of not having a guaranteed check. And so people on this side value security. People on this side value freedom. And if you're not financially free, you're not free. There's political freedom, there's religious freedom, there's different kinds of freedom. We want to have all freedoms that we should have, but without financial freedom, we're not really free. Security on this side is a myth. I mean, I have a friend who lives here in St. Louis, and her job was to help the 3,000 people who were laid off from Anheuser-Busch when they were bought by InBev to find new careers. And then she had to find her career, right? And she created a job where she helps other people who are being displaced in their careers find work. I have another friend who was in Ralston Purina when they were bought by Nestle, and she was she was writing all of the messages for people when they were being laid off at Ralston Purina. Great jobs, right? And eventually she wrote her own notice, you know. And so we may think because we got a check coming in every week on this side that we're secure, but that security has a lot of things, you know, riding on it. You know, the company I worked for was sold to Bloomberg, and everything changed. You know, you don't know when your company's going to, what's going to happen to the accountants and the lawyers and the legal people at Time Warner that was just bought by Charter. They're not going to need 2 legal departments. They're not going to need 2 accounting departments. They're only going to have 1. So they pay for the merger by laying off the people from their company, right? Security on this side is a myth. Freedom Financial freedom based on the right principles is the only true security. Leveraging your time, leveraging your money, leveraging the help of others creates a true security. So leverage is huge on this side. This side, leverage is key. We're leveraging things. So what is a business system? There's a lot of business systems. What a business system does is it creates something where you can do it once and then it starts working for you. Like Eddie's given away a lot of apps, right? Those apps, you give the app away once, but some people use the app more than once, right? So you've created a flow where people are using an app that you gave away. You know, 2 of the wealthiest entertainers today are dead. Michael Jackson last year made $125 million, and he's dead. Elvis made $44 million last year. He's been dead a long time. You know, and so they created a system. They did something once, and then people did it over and over again, and it created an income. That's what you want to find. You want to find something that you can do one time, and then other people do it, and it creates a residual income. That's what a business system does. And so a business system is a way to replicate and duplicate your efforts over teams of people. This conversation we're having right now is actually part of a system, a future system for the Shopping Sherlock Nation, right? And so this learning will help your team learn these principles in the future, and you won't have to do it. You don't have to be here. And when I'm out with somebody, I do not do this. This is an education to build belief and build an understanding of entrepreneurial principles. When I'm with somebody, I show them the 3 movies. And if they don't want to see the movies, I make them see the movies. Because I'm not about one person that's never going to duplicate themselves. If they're not going to watch the 3 videos, they don't know enough of the business to duplicate. And so they have to follow the systems. They watch the first movie, then they watch the second. I ask them what they liked about it. They watch the second movie. I ask them what they liked about it. They watch the third movie. What do you like about it? Hey, let me get Chuck on the phone, right? I mean, that's the system. And then I bring them to this meeting, right? That's the system. And then now we have training that they can watch as well. And so there's a system. How many people can make a better hamburger than McDonald's? A lot. Can you make $1 billion? McDonald's does. And McDonald's was my client for 6 years. I've been in Hamburger University. And I saw, they do what we're doing right now. And, you know, Ray Kroc, when he was bringing the idea, we're in the same spot Ray Kroc was. Ray Kroc he wanted to know why this one restaurant was using 3 of his mixers when no one else used more than 1. So he went and saw the McDonald's brothers, and there were lines of people waiting to get those shakes, burgers, and fries in California. And he said, and they could never get the second one off the ground. They tried a second one and a third one. The McDonald's brothers could never duplicate. They didn't have a system. But Ray Kroc created a system. But when he was telling people about the system, when he's telling people about McDonald's, people in the beginning didn't get it. But he hung in there for 2 to 5 years, and it started to get to the point where he was making a profit. It's that way with anything. It takes a little while for you to get people to understand something that's different. This is an entrepreneurial concept, and people who have been raised as an employee thinker, valuing security and trading time for money every day, aren't going to get a business system concept. But Ray Kroc introduced it, and he really created a whole new industry, and that's why we use a system. We do what McDonald's did. We do the same thing every time we share the business with someone. And so I don't give my card with the logo link to get the app to people. If they're not going to look at it and see it and shop for something with me, I don't give them the app. I want people, I'm an educator of a system. I educate people to use the system so they can use it over and over again, because it's a business system. And so what our system of the videos that were created for us, and of the back office that we have, and the site that we have, and our 5-digit or 6-digit code of who we are, all these things are part of our system, and they were created to simplify our being in business for ourselves. So each of us is in business for ourselves, and our business is a business of giving away apps and creating teams who give away apps. And people ask me what I do. I help people save money on the internet by using a killer app, and I teach other people how to do the same. That's what I do. And that hasn't changed the whole time I've been here. That's what I do. That's all I do. And so the bridge from being an employee to a business system is our system here. And the Sherlock is our business system. And then once we're 2 to 5 years doing this religiously every day for 2 to 5 years, depending on how well we do it and how the strength of the influence of the teams we have, we'll decide how long it takes me to get here. But this is where financial freedom is, and this is the way we get there. Exactly. And we have to change our thinking, and it's not just doing the system that makes a difference. It's the belief people feel when we talk with them. You know, people can measure your emotional state 12 feet away from you. They have gadgets that can measure a person's emotional state 12 feet from them. And so the sphere that we're in, people know our belief. They know whether we believe it or not. And so we affect the people around us. So what we believe affects it. So it's the knowledge that we gain by crossing over in times like this that actually makes the difference to enable us to get down to here. Makes all the difference in the world. And so this is the path to financial freedom. Now, whatever your we talked about last time, whatever your reason is, whatever your why is, that is very important to know. Your why has to be strong enough. It's your vision, your why, your purpose. The world starts with, remember we talked about last time, the world starts with what? Those who start with why change the world. So if your why is big enough, the obstacles don't matter. And so know your why, and then find out the why. Once you've gotten a person who's interested in becoming part of your entrepreneurial pathway, I have not found a better pathway than the Sherlock. You know, we are business owners. We paid $249 to own our business. But we have a system where we all work together to make it work more efficiently than other businesses. But there's a lot of other businesses that you can belong to. You can go and buy a Subway franchise. Subway's the largest franchise restaurant. It's $60,000. Now it takes about 3 or 4 because you make about $40,000 a year. So you invest $60,000, you only make $40,000 in a year. It's going to take you 2 years just to recoup the initial investment to start the franchise. Not to count buying the bologna, buying the bread. All that is more money. And so it generally takes 5 years to recoup your investment, and to really make money, you have to have 3 of them. So that's the model. 3 Subways, 5 years to financial freedom. And then you're never really free, because if the 16-year-old guy you got who's going to be carving the bologna doesn't show up, what are you doing as the owner? You're over at your store carving the bologna. Now, does it come in carved now? It might. I don't know what they do. But it's much better to spend $249 one time and $34.95 a month and give away something for free that everybody will want to use and everybody benefits by saving. And so you're a business owner. Start acting. We act like business owners. What do you do? Well, I own a business, and in my business, we've created a killer app, and we help people save money with that app. And when people want to find out how I make money with the app, they can give away apps too by purchasing a license. That's all we do. It's that simple, you know. So welcome to entrepreneurship and business ownership, and welcome to the pathway to your financial freedom.